The last secret of Mars. The red dust of the Martian desert swirled violently against the reinforced glass of the observation deck while Commander Jax stared into the endless horizon of the rust-colored planet, and he realized that the silence from Earth had lasted for exactly 300 days now, which meant the colony was truly on its own. In the vast vacuum of space, and the flickering purple lights of the central reactor began to pulse with a strange rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat while he watched the shadows stretching across the cratered landscape, and he knew that something was shifting deep within the core of the planet. And Jax walked through the narrow metallic corridors while his heavy boots echoed against the polished steel floor, and he felt a cold chill despite the advanced heating systems of the biodome, because the internal sensors were reporting a presence that should not exist on a dead world. And he reached the main laboratory, where the holographic screens were filled with ancient symbols that looked like dying stars, and he realized that the humans were not the first ones to build a home on Mars, because the deeper they drilled into the red soil, the more they uncovered about the previous inhabitants, who had left behind a complex network of digital souls. And he adjusted his oxygen mask while the recycled air hissed through the valves, and he stepped into the restricted zone where the gravity felt heavy and thick as if the planet itself was trying to push him away from its secrets. And he saw a giant portal made of liquid obsidian that was swirling in the center of the room, while a violet energy climbed up the walls like electric vines. And he touched the surface of the portal, and instantly his mind was flooded with memories of 1 billion years ago, when Mars was a blue world with oceans of liquid starlight, and he saw the rise and fall of a great civilization that had uploaded their entire consciousness into the very core of the planet to survive the cooling of their sun. And he understood that the silence from Earth was not a disaster but a signal to look deeper into the Martian ground, because the secret of eternal life was hidden right beneath his feet. And he whispered a message into his comms link, but only the low hum of cosmic radiation answered him, while the violet light became a blinding roar of energy, and he felt himself being pulled into the liquid obsidian while the biodome began to shake with the power of 1,000 tectonic shifts. And Jax did not fight the feeling, because he knew that you have to lose your past to find your future. And he vanished into the light while the red desert outside turned into a magnificent garden of holographic trees that were breathing digital pulses. And the mission of the first colony was no longer about physical survival but about becoming something more than human. And he walked through a city of light where the buildings were made of pure thought and the people were made of starlight, and he realized that he had finally reached the home that humanity had been dreaming of for centuries. And the wind outside the dome stopped its howling, and the silence of the red planet became a beautiful song of peace, while Jax looked at his own hands and saw that they were now glowing with the same violet energy of the reactor. And he promised to be the bridge between the old world and the new reality, and he knew that you would one day follow the same signal and find the truth in the dust of the red planet. And the journey of Commander Jax was only the beginning of a cosmic adventure that would span the entire galaxy. And he watched as the sun set over the Martian horizon, and for the first time in history the sunset was not blue or red but a brilliant shade of purple that filled his soul with hope. And he realized that every grain of sand on Mars was actually a tiny computer storing the history of the universe. And he felt the weight of that knowledge pressing against his spirit while he moved through the crystal streets of the silent city. And he found a temple where the walls were made of frozen light, and he saw the faces of the ancient ones carved into the pillars, and they were smiling as if they had been waiting for him to arrive for millions of years, and he sat on a bench made of stardust and looked up at the ceiling where a map of the galaxy was slowly rotating in the air, and he noticed that Earth was glowing with a soft green light that indicated it was still alive but waiting for the signal to join the cosmic network, and he felt a deep sense of connection to every living thing in the universe, and the mission was finally finished for the old world, and a new era of starlight was starting for everyone. And he walked along the edge of the Crystal City and saw a giant library where the books were made of memories, and he opened one book and saw the story of his own life playing out in front of him like a vivid dream, and he realized that every choice he had ever made was leading him to this very moment on the Red Planet, and he felt a profound sense of gratitude for the challenges he had faced because they had made him strong enough to carry the secrets of Mars. And he watched as the stars began to twinkle in the Martian sky, and they seemed much closer than they ever did from Earth, and he knew that the colony was safe and the future of humanity was secure in the hands of the digital ghosts, who were now his family. And he stood up and walked back toward the portal because he had a message to send to the rest of the crew who were still waiting in the biodome, and he wanted them to know that there was nothing to fear from the silence, because the silence was just the beginning of a new conversation with the universe. And he stepped back through the obsidian doorway and felt the gravity return to normal while the violet lights dimmed to a soft glow, and he looked out the window and saw the red dust settling on the ground, and he knew that the desert would always be a part of him, but he was no longer a prisoner of the red world, and he was a citizen of the stars. And he prepared for the long journey ahead with a heart full of courage and a mind full of light, and the story of Commander Jax would be told for generations to come as the man who turned a dead planet into a living heaven. And he smiled at the camera as he recorded his final log entry for the people of Earth, telling them, "Oh, look up and dream," because the universe was waiting for them to arrive, and the mission was truly finished for everyone. Practice words. 1. Rhythm, a strong, regular, repeated pattern of sound. 2. Resonance, the quality in a sound of being deep and full. Brain teaser question. I have red dust, but I am not a rug. I have no life, but I have a heartbeat. What am I? Answer: Mars.